right, Perry G. Perry Guirau. Did I say that right?
You did. So what's happening, KG?
Good to have you. Just wanted to kind of let the world know about you. You're new to Keller Williams, new to ERG, Enlighten
Yes.
Realty Group, and we're excited to have you. So how long have you been in real estate?
So I officially been in real estate since August 2020. So basically right around when the world shut down is when I decided to buckle down and go ahead and get my real estate license and pursue a career in real estate.
Did COVID happen or not yet?
Actually, yeah, COVID just happened. And, timing is everything. Literally, I remember sitting down with a college friend of mine who was a recruiter for a well-known real estate company here in the Milwaukee area. Him and I went to lacrosse together.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, March hit. You see all the madness going on TV. And then all of a sudden, April Fool's Day, my job decides to let go of all middle management. And that's how I began the career.
Now, that's funny. Did you really think it was an April Fool's joke, or you guys knew it was serious right away? I have to ask that.
Man, it's crazy because I remember back in around 08, it actually happened to my grandmother as well, too. She was with a company for a very long time.
On April Fool's?
And literally, all of a sudden, April Fool's, I'm like, is this part of the family, generational curse, or what's going on here? But
man, you think they could have done it a day before or a day after?
I know. I mean, at least it wasn't Christmas, you know what I mean? So
right. So what was that job? What were you doing?
So I was in the automotive industry, subprime sales. So
what's that mean?
Subprime is basically you're dealing with clientele who've been rejected by anyone and everyone.
Oh, got it.
And they come to you because they have nowhere else to go, and you're the one who's truly going to give them the second chance in order to help them out. And in the automotive industry that I was a part of, the goal was to help people who have less than perfect credit or no credit, basically like a credit rebuilding boot camp, get to a point where not only are they able to get themselves into a vehicle, but if they do the program successfully, they'll be able to get their dream car. And I've actually even had a couple people who said, hey, because of you is the reason why I was able to get my first house. And that was the other
building their credit.
Exactly. And that was the other thing that planted that seed of maybe I should get into real estate after hearing it so many times from my past clients.
Excellent. That's good. So what kind of credit scores were you talking about? What were they starting with and where would they typically end up?
Let's just say some people think that 420 is good.
Oh my.
Right.
Some people like 420 for other reasons.
Yeah. Some people like 420 for other reasons. We're not going to go down that path,
credit
right?
Score.
Exactly. Not with credit score. But, you don't know what you don't know. And so when people come on in, I like to take the opportunity to sit down, get to know them, and further let them know the importance of credit. And I always tell people, unless you're born with, a lot of money, you need to treat your credit like it's gold.
Because 98% of the world.
Exactly.
Right. That's good. I would think you build a good relationship with them because, you not only you're getting them in a car, you ultimately changing their life and setting them up for wealth building, success, and ultimately buying a house. How is it? Are you able to keep up with those people and catch back up with them now that you're in real estate?
Absolutely. You figure, it's not a one and done type of deal. It's a 3.5-year relationship on average by the time they're finished with the program.
Oh, that long?
Yeah.
So that's not an instant payday for sure.
No, they come see Uncle Perry with the kids and see, what kind of candy does he have in his drawer today type of deal. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's a long process.
It is.
Got it. All right. Good. So would you say that's the ultimate reason you wanted to get involved with real estate, or were there a couple other factors? Did you have any friends that were in it having success?
So my father actually was in the mortgage industry up until about 2008. And so he was my first glimpse at, of what are some potential career paths. That was one thing I thought about. I'm like, do I really want to do mortgages like my dad did, which he did very, very well in? Or do I want to go another avenue? And I just had more of a passion for real estate. I love being out and about. I love connecting with people. And it's a whole nother feeling because of the fact that you get to see the emotional side of the transaction versus just the paper side of the
you're not stuck behind a desk. I don't think you would last too long behind a desk.
Man,
from what I know of you.
Even in the automotive industry, I was always up, out and about. It was just hard for me to sit still in like a cubicle or an office type setting. I had to be out and about.
Nice. All right. So here we are almost, 4 years later?
Yeah, this will be the fourth fiscal year going around. Yeah.
It's funny when you mentioned the COVID thing. I had a catering business. I was doing restaurant consulting, and I was the director of hospitality at my church, all three at the
Nice.
same time, and part-time real estate. And I remember putting a date on the calendar. It was like 8 months out. It's like, all right, I'm gonna make plans to. I wanted to do real estate full time, so I had a date on the calendar. It was like 8 months out, and I had to find a replacement at church because I wasn't gonna just leave them hanging. So that takes a while to find the right person. And I remember that date came. I hit the date. I went full time in real estate, and I think it was 2, maybe 3 days later, COVID showed
Oh,
up,
wow.
and everybody's like, "Oh gosh, what are we what are we gonna do?" The realtor, nobody knew what was gonna happen, but I do know this: nobody was gonna eat food that I was making because they were afraid to even look at each other at that point,
Right.
right? So nobody was eating out. I remember taking groceries home and washing them. I mean, the world was paranoid, but it ended up being a great year in real estate. So we kind of were, you were starting, and I was really going full time, and I had a good year that year. So it's interesting that was about the same time. So what's like your main clientele right now? What kind of people have you been helping? And then we'll get into what you're looking to do in 2024.
Yeah, absolutely. So my main clientele right now is primarily investors, first-time home buyers, and also military. I have a huge passion
Okay.
for helping out those who are active in our veterans. I have a lot of people, a lot of my elders, are veterans as well. Actually, I tried joining the military when I just got out of high school, and unfortunately, due to asthma and things like that, they
Mhm.
said medically I just wasn't a fit.
Got
But I
it.
always wanted to make sure that I was able to give back to those who served their country because we all know that freedom's not free.
Correct. So you find mostly a lot of VA loans?
Yeah.
Do you find that VA loans are more challenging, or did they just kind of happen like the rest of the conventional loans?
I think it depends. I know when like 2021 hit, a lot of people were had to be able to have the pick of the litter, I guess you could say. So
Right.
sellers had the ability to be more selective, and it kind of I felt bad because you felt a little bit left out, even though you had a really good person who had a really good offer,
Hmm.
and all of a sudden they're like, oh well, it's a VA. I'd rather deal with a cash buyer, maybe somebody who's conventional, and that shouldn't necessarily be the case.
It shouldn't be the case. I know they have a few more appraisal conditions
Yep.
than the typical conventional loan, but I mean, I think they get a bad rap because I've done a bunch of VA loans and I've seen some of them go a lot smoother than conventional do.
Uh huh.
So, and then these people also serve their country. So you're right. It kind of hurts when that's the that's what the world kind of thinks, and that's what unfortunately, conventional loans do usually do better than VA loans. But I think that's starting to change though.
I
So,
agree.
so we'll keep at that. Tell me more about the investor clients that
Yeah,
you work with.
absolutely. So a lot of people ask, why do I have a large investor pool? And it all boils down to one of the main reasons why I got into real estate in the first
Mhm.
place. I think a lot of us, when we get into real estate, a lot of people think that you have to get your real estate license in order to get into the investment industry.
Right.
And, I learned right away that that's not necessarily the case. Is it great to have a real estate license? Absolutely. It goes to show that, you have a fiduciary interest, the basic laws and contracts, et cetera, which is really, really important.
Right.
But, if the end result is investing, that's the reason why I chose the investor clients is like, okay, as I'm learning and mastering this craft, why not have the ability to expand on that network now, generate that relationship and learn from those who've already gone down that path
Mhm.
of where I'm headed down as well.
Right. So there's agents out there and they're always like, I want to work with investors. I want to work with investors. How did you actually meet investors to start working with?
It's just like anything, you have to go where the people are, number one. So, one of my mentors along the way said, Perry, one of the first things you want to do is if you really want to work with investors, go figure out where your local RIA is.
Okay.
Tap into them, start networking, show up, see how you can bring value to them, and eventually that word will get out that you're going to be the go-to person. And that's exactly what I did. Is I rolled up my sleeves, I was humble, I let everybody know like, hey, at that time, I'm newer in the investment industry, but I'm eyes and ears, and whatever needs to get the job done, I'll make sure it gets it done.
Right. So RIA, most people probably don't know what that is. What is that? Where is it? Tell me more about it.
Absolutely. So there's a RIA in all 50 states, okay? And basically, consider it like a location where everybody can go who is part of the investment industry or wants to learn more about investments. Whether it's fix and flips, whether it's buy and holds, whether it's wholesaling. It's a great place to network in that industry to be able to connect with one another
Mm.
in the investment industry.
So, like, where is that in
Sure.
Milwaukee?
So there is one locally here in Wauwatosa. I
Okay.
know that they host it at the Sonesta,
Mhm.
which is right off of Mayfair near Innovation area.
Okay. And they teach classes, or what happens? You
So
walk in there, what do you see?
when you're there, you first invited as a guest. You
Okay.
have the opportunity to get a chance to meet and get to know everybody, not only just investors, but also contractors and painters, and basically anybody that you need that can help you with real estate, lenders, etc. Okay. And then you also have the ability to join as a member, which there's an annual membership due as well too. But there's a lot of perks and benefits to be able to do that, to say that you are a part of the official RIA membership. One caveat that's great is that, you have the ability to see a lot of properties that may not even make it on the MLS,
Right.
which will give you an advantage, over other people who don't have access to your local RIA.
Got So do you get put on an email list, and when
Yep,
properties come up? That's
absolutely.
good because you can use that not only with investors, uh, anybody. There's a lot of people that would appreciate getting off market properties as well,
Absolutely.
right?
And especially in a time when it was very little inventory and you had to be resourceful, you have to learn to think outside the box. And this will also give you an advantage to help out your clients, especially clients that maybe, don't mind living in a property where they can turn it into their dream house versus
Right.
buying a house that's been already put together.
Correct. The other part of that is it's very rare in the last 4 years to buy a house with equity,
Correct.
right? Who's getting equity these days? Very rare. So if they do have the means to do it, they can get a house, needs a little bit of work, fix it up, and gain some equity. That's a win.
It is a very big win, especially you have the ability to educate, let's say, a first time home buyer, and you connect them with the right lender who knows the programs that are out there. There are programs that are out there that can help, a buyer get into a house and to be able to fix it up without them having to use their own money. They'll be able to invest in this program to be able to fix up the house the way that they'd want to.
Are those mostly owner occupant, or is that open to like anybody else? Because I bet 9 out of 10 people don't even know about most of those programs.
Correct. Most people don't. And, thankfully, one of my college friends that I went to lacrosse with, he actually got in the mortgage industry back in 2012. Most of his clients are investors, but, him and I chat on a daily basis. We're always talking about what's the newest program that's out there. And you'd be surprised, what resources are actually out there for a person who is just looking to own or occupy a house.
Right. That's great. So Milwaukee, investing in Milwaukee. I always hear people like from California and different states, they always call Milwaukee like the cash flow capital of the world because it's in I mean, let's face it, we have a pretty low price point for people to buy property and rent it out. Would you say Milwaukee is one of the top cities in the nation that's, to invest in?
So, a good family friend of my father's has been in the real estate industry for, man, well over 25 years. And one of the first things he told me is, Perry, you have no idea how lucky we are to be to be in one of the top hidden gems and literally all the United States.
Okay.
Those who've been doing this a very long time know that Milwaukee truly is like one of the top 10 cities that you can invest in, whether it's for, buy and holds for long term, whether you're looking to get, appreciation, plus you're also looking to get that cash flow as well. Literally, when I talk to a lot of investors, a lot of them will say, all right, we invest in the Sunbelt states. There's a few that will go ahead and say, you know what? Yeah, I want to dabble in the Midwest. I want to go into Ohio, or hey, I want to do the Quad Cities. And I always tell them, well, what about Milwaukee? When you sit down and you really listen to what it is they're trying to accomplish, I'm like, you can do that here in Milwaukee, and I'd be more than happy to help you do that.
Right. Are most of your local investor clients, are they local or do you have some from out of state? Well, how would you break it down percent wise?
Percent wise, to be honest, most of my clients are out of the state and even out of the country. I
Okay,
do have some that are local as well too. A lot of my experienced investors are actually out of the state and out of the country. A lot of my novice investors are local here.
mhm,
I guess that would be, how I would put it.
got it. Okay. Would you say that helps set you apart from the rest of the realtors out there? There's a lot of them.
Absolutely. One thing that's really important is, every day you need to get at least 1% better of mastering your craft. There's so many resources for real estate. It's not a cookie cutter program. Literally, you got to be able to think outside the box. And I've heard this more than once. People say to me, Perry, you're like a unicorn real estate agent, and those who understand unicorns, they're like,
That's good.
right, exactly. I'm like,
Right.
what do you mean by that? But, after you've been in it long enough and you start looking at your other colleagues that are in real estate, you're like, okay, now I get what they mean. A lot of realtors, only focus on one avenue, one source. But when you sit down with the client and understand what's in the client's best interest, you need to be able to understand to give them all the other avenues they have in order to get the best end result for them.
Right. I agree. Let's talk 2024. What's your goals? How many families do you want to help? How are you going to get there? Let's hear more about that.
Absolutely. So 2024, I have big goals. Sitting down and talking with you what your team goals are and what your goals are individually as well. I know in order to be a part of a team, you also have to be able to help coordinate to hit and achieve the team's goals as well. So when you and I first sat down and chatted, you said the goal was about 40 million with a personal goal of 20 million yourself.
Mhm.
Well, my goal starting out this first year, I would love to be at least at like the 10 million mark with
Okay.
a good balanced business. I'd say about 65% listings, maybe 35% of those helping with buyers.
Good. That's a good goal. 10 million. Unit wise, how's that going to break down? What are you going to shoot for as your average price point?
Sure. So right now, I mean, the average price point in the greater Milwaukee metro area is, roughly around 378.
And that blows my mind just to see that.
It blows my mind as well too, because it's crazy to think back in 2020, what that average price point was versus where it's at now, just a few short years later, and
What
it's
was it?
crazy.
Probably in the low
It
twos?
was definitely. I remember when I first got in, that price point in the Milwaukee area was probably about 225.
Right. I was going to guess 220.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely good to see that go up. However, it's still highly affordable.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the nation as a whole, the average house is around 425,000. So, once again, whether you are looking to own or occupy or whether you're looking from an investment standpoint, that's a very beneficial thing to know that, hey, we're still sub 400,000 on
Mhm.
average for an average price point for a house.
Right. Do you have any buyers that are on the fence about interest rates and kind of waiting? And if yes, what conversation are you having with them?
It's funny that you say that because now that I've started my real estate investment career path, that's the biggest thing I hear both from retail clients and also investors as well too. When I say investors, more so beginner investors, not necessarily those that are seasoned. A lot of people are like, oh, I want to wait for the interest rates, or oh, I want to wait for the prices for a house to drop. And I always tell people, numbers don't lie. Let's look
Right.
at the history of where houses were. I mean, we can even go back to like the 1930s and all the way up to now. And you're going to see that they've steadily appreciated over the years. And you're literally probably going to be waiting forever for that drop to happen.
Right.
And now, one of the best advice that I've heard from another mentor of mine is, Perry, you need to inform your clients that they need to, date the rate and they need to marry the price. There's
Yep.
no better time
I
than
used to
now to be
love
able to
that
buy.
one.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would love that one. I know there's probably people still out there that have been sitting on the side for 4 years, and I think about it, gosh, you just missed the boat. I remember 4 years ago I bought my property, and I had to pay 28,000 higher, and I was like, I'm thinking I'm a realtor, and I still have to pay that. It's not just like the common person, right? You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Everybody that was the market, and we all had to adapt to it. But when I look at that property that I thought I was overpaying
Hmm.
for, right? It's appreciated in the last 3.5 years over 180,000.
Wow.
So what investment on planet Earth can you do? I mean, the market's not going to pay that big a return
No,
in 3.5 years, right?
exactly.
Yeah. So
And I'm glad that you said that too, about the value. You know, a lot of people think that the price of the house is what determines the value. And one thing that I've learned along this journey so far is that it's not the price that determines the value, but more importantly, what can you do with the property and the outcome that it can give you, the return on your investment is what determines the value, not the
right.
price.
Well, we look forward to helping you this year. I remember when I met you, we were at the chili cook-off.
Yeah,
I won, of course.
of course.
Sorry, not of course, but you know.
Well, I mean, dealing with your background, you know, coming in the restaurant hospitality industry, I mean, you had a slight edge over everybody else.
Yeah, there were some good ones there
There
too,
were.
right? I'll give a shout out to Paulie Nicollet. I really liked his too. He had a good one. But I met you at the KW Chili Cook-Off. You had been with KW what? How long at that point? A day or two?
Literally, I think that was like day one.
Right.
Yeah, they'd like just announced that, you know, I'm officially part of KW at that point in time.
Right. So we had lunch, we talked, there were some people around and we had a good talk, but we
We
didn't
did.
talk about the team. We didn't really talk much about business. I think we knew some of the same people out in the other world from the
Correct.
car world. And then you gave me a call, I don't know, what, a week or two later,
Yeah.
and you wanted to connect about the team because we didn't talk about it. So I was kind of surprised to hear from you, to be honest with you. What made you pick up the phone and want to kind of explore the team?
When I first sat down with Josh, when he first reached out to me to, you know, inform me about, you know, what KW has to offer and would I at least be willing to sit down and talk about it. Yes, of course, KW's system is phenomenal. You know, the people itself, you know, you are who you attract. And you can tell that KW is attracted to some phenomenal people just by just the few people I've met, not just including you, but the people that I've already met on the team and things like that. Literally, it's like a family.
Yeah.
And so that's a big deal. The reason why I reached out to you regarding a team is I already knew that if and when I was going to transfer over to Keller Williams, I wanted to come in with a game plan. And I was a solo agent for, you know, those 3 years.
Mhm.
And I let Josh know, I'm like, you know, if I want to be able to do something different and see the change, something else has to change. And for me, that was making sure that, you know, I joined a team that not only has the same moral compass and values and visions of what I'm looking for long term as a career, but also, you know, can I be of value and of an asset to them and harmonize with them as well? And when you and I sat down, I instantly knew. And like you said, we didn't talk about a team or anything like
Right.
that. You and I literally sat down over a cup of coffee to genuinely get to know one another.
Well, we're happy to have you. You've been showing up
Thank you.
100%, showing up early.
Absolutely.
Hopefully that rubs off on everybody else and we all groove. We're all grooving pretty good, so that's really good.
Appreciate it. Thanks, KG.